Alright, here's our first video on World War I Ends and also the legacy. Now this is number one. This is two plans and one decision. Ultimately two countries are going to put ways to end World War I and why they went with what they did. So first off, just some kind of things that are maybe out of here, but legacy, alright? First off, the Marines are sometimes referred to as devil dogs, and this is because of the Battle of Bayou Wood. And Battle of Bayou Wood is forever known in U.S. Marine lore, along with the Battle of Iwo Jima and World War II. These are kind of big kind of talking points, but this is where we get the term devil dogs, because they said like the Marines fought like dogs possessed. So there you go. Now another thing, this is much at the beginning of this, there was actually a truce on Christmas Day. And this was between the Germans and the English. They came out of their trenches, they exchanged gifts, they sung hymns, they ate, they even played soccer. There's actually a really cool thing, and I've actually got a scarf there in the classroom commemorating this, and this goes to show you that not all of the soldiers are wanting to fight, but they're going to obey orders all the same, okay? Now, the war ends. There's an armistice. That does not mean the war is officially over. An armistice is simply a cease, meaning stop firing. You put down your guns so we can talk about treaty. And the armistice took place on November 11th, 1918. And so what happens here? On November 11th, we celebrate that as Veterans Day. This happened much later on when people decided we needed to honor the people who fought for this country, and so they picked November 11th because World War I was referred to the war that to end all wars. Everyone thought this would be the last one, and there would certainly not be a second World War or anything horrible like that. So the Armistice Day on November 11th is now referred to as Veterans Day. Now, Woodrow Wilson came up with the plan, and it was called Peace Without Victory speech. Basically, he said if we have a victor, we also must have a loser. And to the victor goes the spoil, and to the loser goes the blame. So he actually drafted up, based on this speech, 14 points. And this was a way to maintain peace and move from it, okay? Now, Woodrow Wilson was part of the Big Four, as it was called. So you said with Woodrow Wilson, there's Victor Clemenceau, who was from France. There's Victorio Orlando, who is from Italy, and Lloyd George from England. Now, ultimately, it comes down to Clemenceau's plan from France versus Wilson's. Woodrow Wilson on this will be the first U.S. president to actually visit Europe. Think about that for a second, okay? And so he's there at the Paris Peace Conference to decide how to end the war. In the end, at the Treaty of Versailles, they went with Clemenceau's plan over Wilson's. Now, some people said that this Treaty of Versailles was simply sowing the seeds, and hence the picture, of future conflicts, and the United States is kind of backing out of this. Now, the Treaty of Versailles did include one of the 14 points, and that was the League of Nations. Now, the League of Nations was to be an international body designed on maintaining peace and resolving conflicts. Okay? And so, there you go. All the other 13 points kind of went by the wayside, and what we got there was that. Now, the League of Nations also would help to maintain two big points. The first is self-determination. These are all countries that are created out of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. Hungary, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, Romania. How do they determine what type of government they want? And they basically decide it should be on self-determination. Okay? That means let them decide, do not get involved. Now, the other big key part of the League of Nations would be collective security. This is the idea of you mess with one, you get them all. Okay? And so, again, strength in numbers, and this would be maintained through the League of Nations. Now, lastly, France has a very big problem with Germany. Now, why are they blaming Germany at this point? Because Austria-Hungary is split up. Also, Germany was the one who said, yes, let's get involved in the war. So Article 231 and 232 of the Treaty of Versailles basically are the hard pill to swallow for the Germans. Article 231 is called the War Guilt Clause. In it, they basically have to accept blame that they started World War I. Article 232 says that they must maintain all reparations. That means they get stuck with the whole bill. Billions upon billions of dollars for losing, okay? And this is a tough thing for the Germans to kind of maintain. It also gives rise to Adolf Hitler much later on, and we will move into that when we talk about him. But that was the first one about World War I, and it's